Welcome to the Bougie Black Brother Network. Good evening and welcome to Urban Lifestyle Cafe. I'm Michael, your bougie black brother, and I'm here with my co-host Alicia.
Hello.
And we've got back from seeing a movie that really wasn't too excited to see. Did you look forward to seeing this, or you just kind of put it on the list? I guess
we put it on the list. I'm a big fan of Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, so I really like it, especially after we saw her on
60 Minutes.
60 Minutes. I really was like, wow, what a powerful woman. So we're talking about Red Sparrow, her newly movie that was kind of controversial. And with her, she was like, I'll never take my clothes off in any of these movies. But after she read the script and the book, she was like, oh, I understand what this is about. So she kind of went through all that. But actually, Red Sparrow was an actual novel done by an ex-CIA agent, and which was really interesting. Wasn't aware that it was a book, but he actually sold the rights to the book to the movies before he actually finished the book. So someone was reading through, I guess, his manuscript and said, hey, we want to buy this. And then when they attached Jennifer Lawrence to it, she was kind of like on like a consultant with it and said, these are some things we will and will not do. But very interesting movie. It's about a ballerina, Dominika Egorova, is recruited to Sparrow School, a Russian intelligence service where she is forced to use her body as a weapon. Her first mission, targeting a CIA agent, threatens to unravel the security of both nations. So, simple, pretty much an espionage spy movie. But this was done really differently. And it kind of the dialogue and the storyline I found really interesting as well. So, opening up in the movie, babe, what was your thoughts? Because I'll tell you real quick before you go, but it seemed like a slow build-up from the beginning.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was too. I mean, just how they did it. How she started out as a ballerina, and she was really a star ballerina, and it had nothing to do with her age, so then she get injured.
And it was intentional.
Yeah, that part right there was a shocker. Because you didn't know where it was going. She's dancing, and then the guy who was supposed to be,
so this is interesting too. So at the same time, at the beginning, it was showing that Nate Nash, played by Joel Edgerton. I don't think he's a great actor, but he shows up in a couple of things. Not a big actor, not a big fan of him, but he's a CIA agent that was working with an undercover Russian spy. And as he is trying to do the hookup with him, she's preparing for...
He was a mole. Remember, he was a mole.
So the mole from Russia. But she was preparing for her dance. So as they switch back and forth, and the speed of the performance was going, and the speed of him running away, and it was going back and forth, and the climax was him jumping over to the embassy,
right?
But the climax for her was
hugging
her
leg getting broken by
the male dancer that was with her,
right,
and which was like crazy as hell. Like, who does that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But we find later on that it was intentional because that dancer wanted his lover
to be the
lead dancer with him.
Right.
And once her uncle gave her the evidence of that, she came there and beat the shit out of both of them, surprisingly. So let's go to her uncle.
Yeah, her uncle, which that was a setup too.
So the uncle is like a they don't say KGB, but he's in the higher levels of government and dealing with different spies and things. Matthias, I'm not even going to try, but he played Vanya, which is her uncle. And since, Jennifer Lawrence, Dominika, she was a dancer, the government took care of all of the dancer, the ballerinas and all, because they represented the country.
Right.
So they took care of her. They took care of her mother. Her mother was sick, so she needed medical and all of that. So she danced for the government. But once she got hurt, he kind of set her up and said, well, you're going to have to do some other stuff for us because they're not going to continue to pay your bills.
Because you're no longer dancing.
Because you're no longer dancing.
Mm-hmm.
So part of that, too, was kind of like, how do we get these spies? So once that spy, Nate Nash, jumped over into the embassy as an American CIA agent.
Because he had information.
Because they found out that he was dealing with a Russian mole.
Well, see, actually, what messed him up was the police was really trolling the area for
drugs.
Drugs and something else. I think it was. Did they say something else?
Yeah, but it wasn't nothing important. It was just by chance.
Right.
They was just trolling the area.
Right, and so they said they would have let you go. You just triggered something that you shouldn't have.
Yeah, he took his gun out, and when he was passing with his mole, passing information, the mole walked away, and he took out a gun and started shooting to get them to run after him, as opposed to, grabbing hold to the mole. But they was like, you didn't really have to do all that, dude. So they suspended his ass. And they was kind of like, yo, we're going to suspend you. You're going to only stay in the States. But he was telling them, look, you can suspend me all you want, but this guy ain't going to talk to nobody unless it's me. He is not going to trust any damn body. But they was like, I don't care. Get the hell up out of here. So from there, it became interesting because what her uncle, Jennifer Lawrence's uncle, he was in the highest level with the government, with spies and all, he got her to say, I need to get this information on one of these Russian oligarchies, one of these rich Russian people, and he likes you because, I saw how he looked at you when they brought her to the ballet when he was there. So he wanted her to seduce him and change out the phone.
Right. That's what she's supposed to have done. Yes.
So that's what they did. But, when she got there, it wasn't just about the seduction. He was a really cruel, sadistic rapist, basically. And as he tried to rape her, someone came in and killed his ass.
Yep.
But she was like, what the fuck was that all about? And
that was a setup.
They was going to do it anyway, but they just had to get it to a certain point to get her to actually, blend in and do what needs to be done. So then it becomes, what do? You saw this guy get killed, and really you have no choice but to either work for us or they're going to have to kill you. Well,
not only that, the fact that she beat up the ballerinas as well.
So after the beat up, then he said, you needed to do me a favor.
Right.
And then after
because I think she kind of owed him because of the information that he gave her. So, you know what I'm saying?
No. So he gave her the information just to let her know, yeah, these people was fucked up.
Yeah, but
the intent wasn't
for her to go
and beat their ass.
Exactly.
But it was, in his mind, he knew she was going to do that. So when he knew she was going to do that, he manipulated her and said, now, you can really get in trouble, but I can take care of you if you just do this one favor for me. But he knew that this one favor that we done would get her to do more than just that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it rolled into a setup on top of a setup on top of a setup. So after that, then it's like, you saw this guy get killed, so now you have no choice.
Yeah, remember, he raped her.
So I'm going to go back to when she was in the room. He knew that this guy was a sadistic, violent rapist, but he just needed for her to get into the room with him so they can kill him. So she knew that. But he let that happen to a certain point because they said, how did they get those people out of the room? His guards. She said she asked them to, and she was able to seduce them to the point to get them out of the room. So he took advantage of that and said, now I can actually get him killed. So that was their intent all along. But if not, they would have been able to just change out the phones. So when they changed out the phones, and that was the other intent. So as he was raping her, that's how the assassin guy came in and killed her.
Right, because she looked in, saw the window door open.
Yeah, she wasn't like, what the hell was that all about? And he came in and strangled him and fucking broke his neck with a wire or whatever and all. So anywho, so it gets off to that, and then her uncle says, once again, if you don't work for me now, then they will have to kill you.
Right. So that's when she joined. They made her do that program.
The Sparrow program, which was really strange.
Right.
They said they got all of the real handsome and beautiful people that will have to seduce people in order to get information. So it wasn't about fighting or whatever like that. It was the mental seduction. But you have to learn people's weaknesses, which I found was kind of crazy anyway. So doing all of that, she had a small speech at the beginning that I thought was really interesting. I'm not sure if you caught it, but she said the Cold War isn't over. The Cold War changed, and we want to be the world leaders. And as we be the world leaders, the difference between us and the United States is they're so obsessed by social media and all different other stuff. They're so distracted that we can manipulate them. And these are the powers that we're trying to give you all to be able to manipulate and seduce those from that. And it kind of told the truth of how the Russians infiltrated us with the social media. And then it went on to how to teach these people how to be seductive in different ways and finding people's weaknesses and all. So then that became a whole different story from that. So when it went on from that, when you saw the camp and after she got out of the camp, I'm not sure how that kind of connected on. I kind of got lost in between it. Do you remember how they chose her to go after the
uncle?
Uncle?
Yeah. Yep. He suggested. He said she'd be perfect for the job because she remember she seduced one of the other students. She told him, remember he tried to rape her. He tried to rape her in the.
She beat the shit out of him.
Right.
But then one of the generals, the Jeremy Irons character, came there and was like, we should be kicking you out and blah blah blah.
But that's when she's like, okay. That's when they put her in front and she took off all her clothes and told him, you want to have sex with me? Come on, let's do it.
Yeah, now.
Right now. And he couldn't he couldn't get his thing up.
She said, give him what he wants. And she said, what he wants is control. And I didn't give it to him.
Right, exactly.
Because all he wanted was power over her.
That's
control
right.
over her.
That's right.
But when she said, I'm in control and I'm right here, look at me, he couldn't get aroused because the only thing that he wanted was to have power over her.
Right.
And she didn't allow that to happen. And
that's when
they was like, yeah, let's try her.
Yeah, let's try her. Exactly.
So what it went from there, it just seems like an ordinary Russian female spy movie as it was going along in that way. You really didn't pick it up how smart she was. You picked it up that she was smart enough to see what was going on, but you really didn't see how truly
smart. Yeah,
she was paying attention to a lot of stuff that was going on.
Yes, that was the thing that kept the movie
interesting.
Yes, because you didn't know where it was going, and I like that. Yeah. I really like the fact that you didn't know where it was going.
So there was instances that she was doing things and she was telling the truth. And I was like, why is she telling them the truth? It was majority of the time when people was questioning her, she told the truth. And I was like, well, why would you tell the truth? How is the truth really going to open up things for her? Because she told the truth to the Russian people that she was dealing with. She was telling the truth to the CIA that she was dealing with. But it was a certain amount of truth that they was giving her, that she was giving them, as opposed to just saying, this is what my intentions is. And then there was the other lady who was the secretary of one of the senators, and she was trying to sell secrets because she was a fucking drunk.
Now that part, she was doing it for a while.
Oh yeah, because there was the other Russian agent that was there that was dealing with her. You know what I mean? She was actually trying to infiltrate her to get information. But when Jennifer Lawrence found out she was doing it, she was like, oh no, I want a piece of that. I'm going to get a piece of that.
Right.
Because she went to the embassy to kind of smooth up to the U.S. consulates and all of that. And she saw her other roommate over there with the
senators.
The senator's secretary.
Right.
From that. Or chief of staff, I'm sorry.
Right.
His chief of staff.
So that was the thing. When I got to that point, I didn't understand. They killed her, the other Russian agent,
right?
Because I guess she was. That part I didn't quite get why they killed her.
Why they killed her?
Yeah, well, why they killed her?
She showed up saying, "Remember, she went to the station agent, the asshole dude,
right? She did.
Said, what would you give me if I gave you information on
Christina,
Dominika?
Yeah, Dominika. She called her Christina, but yeah, Dominika.
But that was the fake name.
Yeah.
So after that, we go back to the apartment, and she's cut up and sliced up in the tub with a bag over her head.
Right.
And they said, the assassin guy, from the one that killed the Russian from the beginning. He came back and he told her, if you lie or whatever, this will happen to you.
Right.
So this is what it's going to look like, and blah 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 blah. And she was like, oh shit. So Jennifer was doing a whole lot of little things in there that really didn't give you details of why she was doing it. She broke into the CIA guy's apartment, looked around at some things. She looked down and saw the glass on the table that the night before she came over and they had drinks, and then she was trying to seduce him, and he was like, nah, back off, nah. But she came back and broke in and took the glass. But you didn't know why she took the glass. And then they came back, and her uncle came to check up on her. And it's like, yo, how come you're not giving us the information we want? And she said, well, I got information. He's already told me there is an undercover spy and different things in that matter. So here you go. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And then she was like, okay. And then he was like, wait a minute, I forgot my coat. And she said, well, I'll go get it. So she grabs his coat and she looks at his passport.
Yep.
I thought she took his passport, but Alicia was like, nah, he wouldn't take it because then he wouldn't be able to get out of the country.
Right, he wouldn't.
Then I was like, oh, okay, you're right. But I didn't know what reason it was. So then she started talking with back and forth, because what was happening was she was playing like she was a double agent. She was kind of working for the Russians, but telling the Americans, hey, look, you need to take care of me and my mom. I got some more information. You need to work with me in Vienna, work with me in London, where we're going to set up the chief of staff of the senator. But she needed, what was it, $250,000?
Yeah, I think 30,000. She asked for 30.
No, she wanted 30 for the second time.
Okay.
But the 250,000 was from the Russians.
Yeah,
that's so we can give it to the chief of staff.
Right.
So
exactly.
That's what she did that one.
Right.
So, but they show her in Vienna opening up a bank account. And it was kind of like,
I think that was later on.
yeah, but it was like in between somewhere.
Right.
But she opened up a bank account, had lunch with one of the bank people, and they just hooked it up, and he brought it in for her. So once again, using her seduction techniques to get over and do things. So she was doing these things, but it wasn't clear why she was doing it. So I thought she was doing it because when she asked the Americans for the $30,000, remember that? She asked them for the $30,000. I thought it was for her to put that in an account so she can actually be able to
live in the United States or escape or whatever. Yes, yeah. That's the same thing I thought as well.
So they moved on. But after that, the setup with the chief of staff, she was working with the Americans, and they turned around and was like, we got him. Then her fucking station chief showed up. And she was like, you're going to blow my cover. You need to get upstairs and go into the room. So she showed up with the disc, a hard drive disc. Floppy disk. I was like, what the fuck is that all about? I thought this was like 2013.
Yeah.
They could have put it on a drive. But I was like, okay, whatever, as long as it's on disc. And so they changed the disc out, and they left it there for the Americans to have, but then they held on to the fake ones. But what happened was the station chief said, oh, we changed our mind, and we're going back to Russia. So in the meantime, they had Russian people that was casing the area. You know what I mean?
Okay, so they told the woman, the chief of staff, to stay in the hotel for an hour.
Yeah, for an hour.
And she was drunk as hell.
She was drunk than a motherfucker. She was like, hey, Boris, make me a drink.
Right.
You know?
So she was drunk as hell. So when Jennifer told her to stay there, she said, fuck it. Grabbed her money.
She took the money.
And was walking out the building. Did she get a call or something?
No, she saw these dudes looking at her.
Yeah, those dudes was the U.S. spy.
Nope. They were Russian.
Well, the lady said our people were watching her.
Yeah, but they were coming after her because that was a setup. Even after that, they was going to grab her.
The Russians were going to go.
Because after she got hit by a car, remember, they called her station chief in the car, and he was like, okay. Oh, gotcha. We bringing her back right now.
Yeah, because she had the floppy disk.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But they were supposed to be working with her.
Okay, so
maybe I got it backwards. Maybe that was the Americans, and what they was doing was calling and said, "Did you get the disc?" And they said yes. He said, "Bring her back to Russia." You know what I mean?
Right. Because when she got killed, they said that she was the mold and reporting her as a spy.
Yeah, so they said they reported her as a spy because they found that the disc wasn't what it was.
Right. And that's why they kept on saying you told them who she were. You told them who she was.
Yeah, but they kept saying something. Then they began torturing her.
Her name, what's her name was?
Who's that?
The other spy, the one who was the chief of staff.
That was Butcher.
Yeah, they kept on saying,
You told on Butcher.
Yeah,
who did you tell about Butcher?
Yeah,
or something like that.
Yeah, they kept saying that.
They kept torturing her.
Yeah,
they killed the station chief, and they showed that on the laptop. And so they stepped behind her and said, "Tell me, what did you tell the Americans about Butcher?" And she said nothing. Or she's like, "No, I didn't." And it was like click. And then I think her uncle came in after that. So when her uncle came in, he's like, I really can't do anything. She was like, you got to put me back in. You got to put me back in. After I'm tortured, they'll believe me, and they'll give me the information that I need.
Right.
They'll know it now. And you saw it on his face. He's like, damn, that's pretty slick.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. But when that happened, and so she went back with the American guy, and as soon as she went back with the American guy, the assassin guy showed up. And, she went to sleep. She had sex with him, of course. But she woke up in the middle of the night because she heard like mumbling or whatever. And come to find out, the assassin guy had him tied up. And what she did was she walked up and
Helped him,
tied him to the chair with the twisty ties. And he began stripping the skin off of him with some kind of machine, which was like really fucking gross. It's like if you want like some lean meat, you know, because we want like honey baked turkey, but we like ours to like really thin. He was stripping that joint off his body, and she was like, "Tell me who this guy is. Tell me who it is." And then at the opportune point, she said, "Give me it. Let me try it." And she just knocked the shit out of him. He fell on the floor, but he picked up a knife because he was ready to cut him up with the knife. And they began fighting and stabbing and blah, 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 blah. So, but they get loose. She cuts him loose, and
she kills the
assassin, stabbed the shit out of him. She did the right thing because she cut his Achilles, and he couldn't stand up. So you cut that Achilles, you know, you have no way of standing up straight, or your tendons. But she kills him. And then they said, he mumbles and said, call the embassy. Call the embassy. So once they called the embassy, she was there, and she wakes up early.
Yeah, she was injured. He was injured. Mm-hmm. She went to get a smoke, like you said, Europeans do.
Yep.
And guess who
smoking?
And guess who walks up?
Oh my God! It's the general. The general who was telling her uncle, "You should never be using her. She is the wrong person to use. You know, you're being weak because you're allowing her to lie to you." And come to find out,
he was the mole.
He was the freaking mole. As soon as he walked up, I was like, Alicia, he's the mole. She was like, what? I was like, he's the fucking mole. That's the mole right there. And he tells her and said, you need to turn me in.
Yep.
And he goes this whole soliloquy. Jeremy Allen was good in here too. But he goes this whole little soliloquy saying how Russian changed and how they're doing things that's wrong and really not for the country, but for themselves. And I don't want to live in a country like this and blah, blah, blah. He said, but you need to tell on me and take my position and move up through the ranks and ensure that one way or another, if you don't change the government, we'll let somebody else do that. And then she organized a swap. Say, hey, look, get the actual mole and then turn around and I can come back. And she got the Hungarian not prime minister, the one in charge of the embassy or whatever like that. And she was telling them, you need to do this, and I'll be nice enough to let them know that you organized this.
Oh yeah, that she sure did say that.
Then it was
because she told him to shut his mouth up.
Like, shut up and listen to what I gotta say. Yep. And this is what you're gonna do.
Right, exactly.
So they said, I'm telling you he said, just tell me. He's like, I'm not telling you. He said, you're a messenger, or errand boy.
Yeah, you're errand boy.
And you're gonna do here's the errand that you're gonna do. Fucking errand boy. I was like, damn.
And so she talked to the Russian
the head guy
of the Russian, and she told him, I know who the mole is.
Mm-hmm. And then she started giving details.
Yes.
Of the mole. But you don't see it though. You don't know about that. And then when the Americans show up, you know, what's his name? The Nate Nash says, this is what you wanted all along. You wanted this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was used. I was suckered in this way. And she was still calm, like, well, you know, things has to happen, blah, blah, blah. And he was mad as hell, and he was looking at her and sneering. And then the helicopter lands, and there's the guy with a bag over his head. And
what did I tell you? Who did I tell you?
She was like, that's her uncle. I was like, damn, that would be a good twist. I was like, damn. So even when you said that, I still said, just because she said so, how could she prove it though? So in my mind, it was, how could she prove it? Mm-hmm. So I just said that would be a twist. I wouldn't like it because it was her word against her uncle.
Right.
So I wouldn't have liked it if they didn't have any evidence. So come to find out, it was the uncle. But then they showed a conversation that her uncle had with the high-ranking Russian guy.
Right.
And they said, well, we went to your house and we found a glass with the prints with the actual CIA agent. We found something else she actually did. And then she said there's a bank account that you opened in Vienna with $250,000 and under your passport and your name. And it was like a couple other things. He just sat there and was like, God damn.
Yeah, she said his.
He was like, and he didn't even argue with it. He was kind of like,
I'm fucked.
he said, I'm proud of my family. He just said, hey, my family's pretty good. And then when he walked past her and said, you just killed me. And she was like, I did good, didn't I?
Yep. So
she always remember, you had me raped and beaten just to get what you want.
Because what's this? Jeremy Irony was waiting at the house at his place.
He left the door open.
Was drinking almost like enjoying his cigar and his
last bit of liquor. Mm-hmm. And
that's what you seen him at the end. That's all you seen him, just sitting there in darkness.
Yep. Because he was like, they're coming to get me.
And so you seen them and then from there it went back where they shot her uncle and dragged her onto the helicopter. Yep. And that's when Nash figured out, oh shit, that's not him.
Yep. And then it was like, can you identify him? He was like, yes, that's our operative. That's who he is. I was like,
the other two said, that's not him.
And then he was like, that's him. Yes, that's who it is. And, there was snipers in the field, and they shot him in his head, and they pulled her away. And she got awards and all of that. So in the end, she got the position that Jeremy Irons said she was going to get. But not replacing him. She wanted to keep him in place and said, keep doing the good work, but I'm going to be part of my country. And it just went on from there. And, in the end, Nate called her and played the music or her favorite music and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
But, again, she carried this movie really, really well. I think if it wasn't her, I'm not sure who could carry this movie as strongly as she did.
Nobody I could think of.
Nobody off the top of my head.
Yeah, nobody.
She did really, really well. The story was okay. The story wasn't great, but what she did to support the story really made it really, really good.
Yeah.
So I kind of enjoyed it based on that.
Yeah, she was really good. Like you said, she was really good. She was really good.
So did you fall asleep on this one?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I know you didn't. So, since you didn't fall asleep on this one, baby, what do you rank it? What's your rating?
A 6.
Wow.
A 6.
You're kind of low. I rated an even 7.
Okay. I was thinking
because I really liked her in this. I really like how she made the story. I like the fact that I didn't get what she was doing. Mm-hmm. When I don't get what you're doing, you either directed it really well or the writing really took you a different direction, because she did it right in front of your face, but you didn't know why she was doing it. And that's what I enjoyed about it.
Well, the thing was is that you didn't know what was really going on. The curiosity was, okay, so
does she really want to be an American?
Yes. Does she get away, go to America?
Yeah.
If she does, how, it was just how she was doing it,
So I'm going to tell you what it was similar to me, that if they would have wrote this more so like this other movie we saw, I think it would have been a little better. It's Atomic Blonde.
Yeah, that's true.
If those were kind of mixed with the better storyline, you know what I mean? The better storyline with the action that Atomic Blonde had, I think that would have been an amazing movie all along. But this wasn't all about fighting. This was about psychological.
Yeah,
How do I get to you psychologically and mentally and sexually to do that? So the guy's book was very hypersexual and violent. So even with this, which was toned down, they said the book was really hypersexual and violent. And people was kind of like, oh, you need to be aware if you watch and reading this and going from that. But Really interesting movie. And I'm saying a 7 because it was better than I really thought it would be. I didn't think it was going to be that good because it was a low rumble of saying it was good. It wasn't like very good. But all I keep hearing was Jennifer Lawrence really played really well in this movie.
Overall,
and I was like, oh, okay.
Overall, Jennifer Lawrence was the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything else, if it was somebody else, it would have been really
It probably would have been like, Or the actress really had to kind of align themselves as good as she did.
Right,
and
right.
I don't know how many actresses could do that.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't either. I couldn't see somebody.
So nobody's coming to mind. It probably could be somebody, but nobody's coming to mind. You know what I mean? So 6 and a 7. I'll stick to my 7 because I kind of really enjoyed it. I think it can be something that people could enjoy. It's a little slow in certain parts, and it's slow because they're building up a storyline that you can enjoy a little later. But other than that, baby, decent supporting actors. They weren't great. They were pretty decent.
Yeah.
Here and there, Jeremy was good. Crazy ass Mary Louise Parker, who played Butcher, the drunk ass chief of staff. Her uncle played really well. I liked him on it because he was an asshole.
He sure was.
You saw he was manipulated.
He took advantage of her.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that to me was cruel.
Yeah, your own niece. It's like he was obsessed by her anyway. He was like in love with her. He really wanted her, but he really wanted to use her because he was based. That was just based on power. With him, it was about power and control. So, anywho, Urban Lifestyle Cafe. Find us on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Spreaker, and Spotify, and all the other podcast downloads. So you'll be able to get us all there and leave us comments because thanks to MoviePass, we'll be able to see a lot more movies, even some of them that we normally wouldn't see. So we'll be out and about. There's a couple coming up because we're trying to stay current with the newer movies, and we're sliding in maybe TV shows here and there. But newer movies coming out, so look forward to them. And we appreciate you leaving comments with Fine BLK Woman and Bougie Black Bro on Twitter and Instagram. And that's what I got, baby. You got anything else?
Nah, babe, that's all it.
So we'll see you next Wednesday, and thanks for stopping by Urban Lifestyle Cafe. Bye.